We'll hammer in. Good evening and welcome to the special called March 1st, 2023 meeting of the City of Tuscaloosa Planning and Zoning Commission. This time I'll introduce our staff. Zach Pons, Director of Planning, Jimbo Woodson, Deputy City Attorney. There are 9 members of the Planning Commission, all who are appointed by the Mayor for staggered terms, with the exception of the City Council representative who is appointed by the City Council. I ask the Commission members to introduce themselves and state their occupation, beginning with Ms. Hare.
Estella Hare, Finance.
Vince Dooley, UA Construction Administration.
Tim Harrison, General Contractor.
Eddie Pugh, retired.
Bill Wright, Business Owner. There are sign-up sheets outside for public comment. If you did not sign up, you will be given an opportunity to speak during the public comment portion of the agenda. The Commission will take up the items in the order of the agenda. The Commission will receive a presentation from staff regarding proposed zoning text changes for the articles identified for discussion. The Commission will vote to recommend or not recommend these amendments. Note that the Planning and Zoning Commission is a recommending body for zoning text and zoning map changes. The City Council is the final authority. After the staff presentation, the floor will be open for public comment. Individuals wishing to express support or opposition will be given 3 minutes to speak. Only the Planning and Zoning Commission can grant a specified time extension to an individual. Public comment will be received, the floor closed to public comment, and the Commission will open discussion among themselves, reserving the opportunity to vote to accept or reject any proposed changes for final consideration. The review meetings for that will be taken up in place in 2023. These proceedings were video recorded and broadcast live. All public comments should be made at the podium into the microphone. Please first state your name and address for the record. Jurisdiction. Regarding text amendments, sections 115276 of the Code of Alabama states, the legislative body of such municipality shall provide for the manner in which such regulations and restrictions and the boundaries of such districts shall be determined, established, and enforced from time to time, amended, supplemented, or changed, and may adopt such ordinances as may be necessary to carry into effect and make effective the provisions of this article. The Planning and Zoning Commission serves as a recommending body to the legislative body. While the zoning text amendments will be considered in pieces, they will not be enforced until the full zoning text is adopted and the zoning map changes implemented. In layman's terms, if there is a vote at any point to recommend changes, they will not be enforced on any property until the City Council adopts the zoning text and zoning maps changes formally through many public hearings. This time, I'd ask, do any members of the Commission have any conflicts of interest or possible conflicts for any topics on the agenda for discussion this evening? If so, please state for the record. Having heard none, with that, we will begin. Mr. Pons.
All right, so you got me today instead of Ashley. She is out skiing. Must be nice. We've got just the stuff that we always go over, meeting expectations. I'm just going to skip these things. You guys know. The zoning ordinance update process, we are updating zoning text, and then we're going to be updating the zoning map after the text is adopted. These are the zoning code articles. We tonight are looking at the first 3 there, as well as a little bit in Article 4. So first, we'll start off with general provisions. So these are just provisions for all regulations within the zoning ordinance, including, the title, the date, the purpose, the authority of the zoning ordinance, ensuring that the development is in accordance with the goals, objective, policies, etc. of the ordinance, of the city, and all the plans that have been adopted by the city, including framework, things like that. Clarify potential conflicts, as well as specifying the zoning map. We do have some information that you guys have reviewed, just showing the comparisons of the zoning districts between what currently exists, so the previous, and what will be adopted. So this is just showing, R1 today is going to be basically our SFR1 in the future. And so that will kind of show us as it's adopted what has been taken over by what. So we'll go into definitions. If y'all have any questions about the general provisions, now's the time. Pretty straightforward. Definitions. So we have a lot of definitions spread out through a lot of our ordinance today, as it's kind of been piecemealed. So this is going to clarify, it's going to contain the ordinances all within, or the definitions all within one section. It includes 216 definitions, and that's not including signs. So we have clarified, we have created new definitions. The goal is to not leave anything vague, as we've had that conflict in the past, with our current ordinance.
So we're gonna have, or we have currently?
gonna have.
We're gonna have 216. Where are we
260.
now?
I don't know, but not nearly that. Yeah, we got 10 definitions. So, this is just kind of showing we're using terms within the ordinance, so like abutting, as well as defining land uses, so catering, different types of uses will be defined, as well as definitions for structures, what's a carport, what's a building, what's a structure, what's an accessory dwelling, things like that, as well as definitions for city regulations, reviewing bodies and applications, what's a CO. So everything will be housed in this. So as we worked with our stakeholders, sent this out, one item that we got back that just wanted to bring forward to you guys. So tiny house, we do define tiny house in our new definition, which is not defined in our current ordinance. 1972, I don't think they had any idea what a tiny house would be in the future. This comment talked about the IRC defines a tiny house as less than 400 square feet. We are defining it as less than 600 square feet. So we probably need to reduce that to 400 if that's what the IRC defines it as. Also, we talk about an engineered permanent foundation. I do agree with this, that the intent is probably a permanent foundation rather than an engineered permanent foundation, and we'll get with building on that to clarify what their regulations are for building a new home. So those are just kind of some items that I wanted to bring forward to you guys. If y'all had any questions on that from our stakeholders.
I don't want to get in the weeds on that, but a question on, my visual of a tiny house is one that can be moved, like a mobile home.
Yes.
So a permanent foundation, does that mean just a
So
poured
it
pad
would
concrete?
be completely different than a mobile home. So a mobile home would be a manufactured home. It actually has different codes. I believe Mr. Harrison or Mr. Dooley might know more about that.
These are site-built homes, right?
The tiny house?
Yeah.
I believe that's the intent,
Yeah.
is they're just really small homes.
Okay, well, I mean.
Not like the ones that you can carry from site to site and just plop them on a specific location. So the idea behind that could be, we could have a tiny home community.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't just be, hey, drop off your trailer for the
Right.
weekend, So I think that's the really intent behind it. Rules of measurement. So if y'all want to continue through definitions, if you have any questions on that, let me know, or we'll go on to rules of measurement. So this consolidates measurement rules that apply throughout the ordinance, including building height, terms related to lots and district dimensions. So you can see here, buildable area. We're defining that, and how is that regulated? How is that defined? And then it also has supporting graphics, so you can see on this bottom corner, what is a corner lot, what's an interior lot. It shows that within the ordinance, within this section here, rules of measurement. So some items from stakeholders on this one that we've, building footprint, the verbiage for building footprint, and I also agree with this, that's why I brought it up, is it is pretty heavy on residential rather than commercial. It doesn't really identify more commercial aspects. It talks about including covered porches that may not have walls, uncovered porches, terraces, steps, courtyards, but someone brought up covered entries, terraces with pergolas, things like that you might see on a commercial development. So we might need to revisit that and expand that, what exactly building footprint includes. For number 2 there, corner lots, a couple of comments there. So for corner lots, you're supposed to designate a primary and a secondary side, basically. What street is primary, what street is secondary. But we don't actually clarify who designates that street. What is it, the city? Is it the owner? My thought, and I think the intent would be whatever the front of the house is, where the front door is, or if it's on a commercial development where the main entry is. So looking at that, clarifying that in that definition. And then also, when is it designated? Is it on the plat? Is it during construction? I would assume it's during construction, but clarifying that as well. And then 3, we do have in our update here, identifying what can and can't, or what can encroach into side yards, rear yards, et cetera, front yards. That includes like walls, fences, things of that nature. But one thing that we were missing was mechanical units. So we'll need to allow that as well and include that in there. And then we will move on to administration. So this is really just identifying the review process, what goes through what. So for instance, here we've got a lot of tables within this section. One table here that you can see is hypothetically a text amendment. What does that process look like? So you can see at the top, review procedure, decision, recommendation, what those mean, and then the reviewer there in that gold, and then the application type. So if we look at text amendment, you can see that City Council, there's a public hearing ultimately, and they make the decision. Planning and Zoning Commission does make a recommendation, and that's a public hearing. And then Director of Planning and the planning staff review that application. So it kind of just lays out what those processes are, with a lot of graphics as well, which just kind of helps. And then if there's further, so administrative adjustment example, if there's further standards, those would be listed in this section as well underneath that kind of table showing what that process is.
Can you go back one frame?
Yes.
I mean, I think this is the kind of thing we were really hoping for in the code that we've been lacking. That helps people get a picture of what they're going to have to go through overall. So I was delighted to see these and the charts with the decision processes, because I think these are going to make it so much more accessible to people who are new to the process, and most people are when they come in, or often are. So I just want to say that I think this is a really a job well done.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to help a lot.
So Zach, is there and I know it would be hard to do, but I guess a lot of people don't realize the time. I mean, you're showing the process, but you're not showing the time. Is there a method by which you could, and I mean, y'all would have to commit to, hey, staff's got to review it by this, and I think you've got that in writing, but if you could add that, it would give, some people think they can come up here in 1 month.
Yeah.
Or
Or
2
the day
weeks,
of.
just get it
That's a
done,
good point.
and they can't do it.
Great
so.
point. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great. And like pre-application conference, when does that happen in the process compared to when you're actually going to go to the meeting? Yeah. I don't think we specify that in here, so we'll write that down. Look at it. Anything else on that?
Just to add, and give them maybe the anticipated duration.
Yes, yeah, typically takes 2
Typically
months
takes, yeah.
Or,
Right.
yeah,
application to,
120 days or less.
Correct.
Something like that.
yeah, that's good.
Correct.
Yeah, I'll write that down. Great. And then these are residential districts that we had skipped when we went over the zoning districts, just because we needed to clarify a little bit more as we looked at it and as we engaged our stakeholders. So this is going to be in Article 4. It defines the zoning districts, defines or provides a general purpose statement for each category of districts: residential, building, institutional, et cetera. And then it specifies the purpose, intent, requirements for all of the zoning districts, similar to what we have today, but a little bit more confined in one location. And so mixed residential 1 was one that we had skipped, and this is the MR1 district is basically carrying forward and renaming the current R4 district, and then changed a little bit of the lot size, setbacks, accessory structures, things of that nature, and as well as this is the purpose statement here. So you can see the MR1 district regulations. I just want to highlight one thing: the density for a townhome, multifamily dwelling, or group home is 15 dwelling units per acre. We did receive 2 comments related to this. One, and when we involved our stakeholders, one was this might be too dense. One was this might be not dense enough. So I think that shows that it's probably a good density, but it does need to be tested in real world situation. And just to clarify, we are going to be doing that with all of this. Once we kind of solidify what the those standards are for each zoning district, we're going to go through, we're going to have our consultants kind of submit permits essentially and plans that we can test with these districts. So next is mixed residential 2. So this carries forward, consolidates, simplifies, and renames the current RA1 and RA2 districts within the zoning ordinance today, as well as shows graphics and things like that. And again, both of these are to accommodate a mix of single-family, townhome, multifamily. It's that kind of development that we're looking for in these 2 districts. And here are the standards for each. It's a little denser than the previous one for specifically all other uses, smaller setbacks. And we did add specific design materials to ensure high quality design within the MR2 district. So the MR1 does not have those design standards, but the MR2 will. So just a little bit higher quality development in specific areas. And then finally, we have multifamily residential. Primarily residential neighborhoods that include multifamily development, medium density environment. So this is the RMF1 and RMF2 districts. And then the RM3 and the RM4 districts are those ones that literally we just had a rezoning last night on an RM3 district. I had not seen or reviewed any plans or talked about any other, since the time I've been here, of an RM3 property. I think that might have been one of the only ones, if the only one in our city. And those all came from Tuscaloosa Forward. And so here are the standards for that. 22 dwelling units per acre, minimum lot sizes, setbacks, things of that nature that are pretty typical to what we have today in the RMF1 and RMF2. Any questions on multifamily residential or any of the other 2? Overlay district, so historic buffer overlay is going to remain. It's going to be the same as it is today. It will not be changing, so we can just go through that, but it is not going to be proposed to be changing in any way. And that's all I've got for you guys tonight. And I believe Ms. Barth is here. We received some comments from our stakeholders that a lot of them were things that we can kind of just acknowledge or answer, as staff. But other than that, I'll open it up to public comment if you want.
Any questions for Zach and staff? Public comment, I don't have any sign-up sheets, do we, guys? I don't think we, I only see one citizen. Ms. Barth, you have a comment?
So Joan Barth, 5541 Woodbury Lane. And I don't really have any comments for you tonight on these things. We're glad to see the definitions and so on. When I was looking at I like how the review process goes through. And so the only thing I could think of, this is just on the fly, is adding in is, where's the public input in that? So like when we deal with it, people don't understand that there's, this, if it's a rezoning, right, it's all of you here, and then it goes to the city hall again. So just where's the public input in that process? So,
Zach, is there any change proposed in how we notify the public?
There is not. It is identified. I'll pull it back up, but I think.
yeah, it might be. Like I said, I was just
The
looking
public,
at it on
the public
the fly.
hearings are identified.
Yeah, the
I'm
public
just- I'm just
hearings,
thinking
but
like-
not the public notice per se. So that's a good thing that we can add in there as
Yeah,
well.
because then people see it, and you go through all that effort, so it's nice
But you
to have
got
it
to, sometimes you
recognized.
got to put in the effort to find it. Like you're engaged. You're on the, you know how to look, navigate the system to find stuff. But a lot of people don't know how to find what's going on around them.
Right.
We hear it all the time, but I didn't know that was happening around me, and because they're not within that radius of getting the notification.
Right,
And I don't
right.
know how you do anything different. I know technology's made things a little easier, but still you got to navigate the website, or I should know if there was any kind of coming of, ways to inform the public of anything going forward. You would think, when you think with technology,
It's
like
the-
geo-fencing, how you could almost blast out a message to anybody that lives in a certain area. I mean, it happens all the time with my phone.
That'd be interesting. I think that, this is, we struggle with this, it's the same thing on the, on our side, community side and so on. It's
Right.
really difficult to reach people, and, Tuscaloosa News doesn't have the reach that it used to, and the people aren't subscribed to it. And that used to be our primary, way of getting a hold of people. So if you figure that out, let us know, and we'll let you know. But we find social media to work the best, really, for us. So.
We need an app.
Pardon me?
We need an app.
An app?
App.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know, how many apps can you have? I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
that's
One more
where
app.
I'm at, like, now I got another app on my phone and whatever. But I think for people, I do think apps, like certain ones of them, are really helpful to get notifications. But as you said, most people don't know that they need to know something until there's something imminent on them. And so it's just hard to deal with that. So, yeah, the TNT app is probably not forthcoming, but I'll let you know. Thank you.
Thanks, Bart, appreciate it. Anyone else care to make a comment?
Doesn't look
All right.
like anyone.
Having heard none, we have not been voting on these things. We've kind of been letting you receive the news, and we'll push forward. What's our next, there we go, as I asked.
Next step, signs and billboards coming to you April 5th.
Is June, July 10th the end?
July 10th is the tentative end.
Tentative.
I believe, yeah, July 10th, yeah.
I didn't think this thing had an end.
You never know. Everything's tentative.
I don't know.
No. All right, well, I guess if that's no more information shared, no questions, we'll adjourn. And
I do want to say, just real quick, for the people watching, always framework.tuscaloosa.com. That's a great place to look at what's coming up next. We're going to be posting the signs and billboards regulations. We posted the ones that we're going over tonight on there. You can provide public comment. So that's always a good location to stay in touch.
beautiful. Thank you very much. All right, everybody have a good evening. Enjoy the basketball game. We are adjourned. We did it.